Ladies and gentlemen, it's Animal Times, the Miles Mining and Jada Fairy Show, only on WYOU. Because I'm his twin sister. Hello there, I'm Miles Spider of this TV show. So, someone had the idea that we could make a part of this show a talk show. So that's what I did with our interviewer, Menno Betta. But first, we're going to go talk to Lori Houston, the co-founder of America's first bird sanctuaries. She's going to tell us a story.
Ready? Yeah, another time that we saw that, well, we saw it a lot at a sanctuary, but one time that really struck with me was Hope and Johnny, who were two pigs. And Hope we had rescued from a stockyard. We actually found her in a loading dock at stockyards. You know, the big trucks come in and then they load them into this like loading dock, and then from there they go into chutes and pens and so forth. And I'll never forget, it was really, really, really cold. And we found Hope, and she was about this, well, actually a little bit smaller than Benny here. She's about this big, and it's Benny. She's about half the size of Benny here. So needless to say, it was quite easy just to pick little Hope up, just like I pick up Benny. Because I noticed she was trying to scoot away. You know, she was terrified. Humans had only abused and tortured her and then dumped her in a loading dock in freezing cold Pennsylvania winter weather. And she couldn't walk. We noticed she was trying to, you know, get away from us because she was so scared, and she was hobbling on one leg. Well, it turned out she had had a bone infection for so long that it actually, you know how the bones should go together like this, and hers were completely splayed apart. And so she never was able to use her one leg. But once we got her healthy, I love that about animals. They don't look at it as a disability because they can't use one of their legs. They're just happy, and they don't know that they're any different from any other pig. And so Hope was living quite a content, lovely life at the sanctuary. And we rescued another little guy called Johnny. And almost overnight, Johnny and Hope became inseparable. They were best buddies, even though Johnny was young, and quite a few years younger actually. And he slept with Hope, they, you know, butt to butt, cheek to cheek. We would have to bring her own separate bowl of food because she couldn't get up and eat with the other pigs. And Johnny would actually stay with her and make sure that she got all the food instead of the other pigs. And he instead of being out, we'd have beautiful, beautiful summer weather, and we had a big pig pond, and all the pigs would run down to the pig pond as soon as it got hot, but not Johnny. He always just stayed right with Hope, you know, as if he knew that she couldn't get down to the pig pond, and she needed company too, and he just completely befriended her, and it was such a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful friendship. And as I mentioned, Hope did have the one bad leg, and eventually her other leg gave out too, just from all the excessive weight that she put on, you know, the good leg, since she couldn't use the bad leg. And, you know, she couldn't walk. And at that point, at a sanctuary, we feel it's inhumane to keep an animal that can't walk, so she was humanely euthanized. And we made sure Johnny was nowhere near. And after it was over, we let Johnny come in so he could see Hope, so that he knew she had passed away, and that, you know, anyway, we did the best we can in those situations to make sure that Johnny knew. And about 2 or 3 weeks later, we went out to the barn one morning, and Johnny had passed away. And to this day, I think it was because Johnny died of a broken heart, because there was nothing wrong with Johnny. He was a healthy young pig who showed no signs of any illnesses. And yeah, You know, we hear this about old married couples that, you know, one spouse dies and then not long after the other spouse dies. And I think that's what happened with Johnny. So I'd like to think that they're both in heaven somewhere, forever and ever, cheek to cheek, butt to butt, at night, you know, just loving on each other like they got to do at the sanctuary.
Thank you. Welcome, Shauna.
How are you?
Good. So I received intelligence that you became vegan. Why did you decide to make this choice?
Well, I did it for the animals. It was my number one priority. I want to live a life of doing as little to no harm as possible to any living being, that be animals, our planet, or people. And there are so many good reasons to become vegan, not even just for the animals, but also for our health. There's many studies that show the severe implications of eating meat, dairy, and eggs, and also for our planet as well.
So do you, why did you decide that pigs and cows and chickens were like worthy of your attention and not eating them?
Right. Well, I've always been a huge lover of animals. Always had dogs, cats, horses. I had an absolute love for wildlife. So I started to make the connection that there's no difference between the animals that we love in our homes, the animals that we go to watch out in nature, and the animals that we're unfortunately on many people's plates, which are usually cows, pigs, chickens, different types of birds. So they deserve the same sort of compassion that any of these other animals do. They deserve the same compassion that people do. And they're just as sentient as any other creature. And I don't want to harm them.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Now I'm off to Vegan Potluck. Boy, was that good! There was olive salad, arugula salad, and there was, not just salad, some kind of cool Spanish casserole thingy, and vegan cheese, and bread, and crackers, and a quinoa dish, and wow, there was even a vegan chicken salad, too. And dessert!
How are you? Good to meet you. Thanks for having me on.
So I hear that you're very knowledgeable and you're a strong activist for Wisconsin's wildlife.
Yeah, I currently serve on the Wisconsin Conservation Congress for Dane County, and then I actually work as a lobbyist for Endangered Species Coalition.
Cool. So I have a few questions.
Sure.
For you. I was actually on a website called We Wildlife Ethic.
Okay.
And I heard something about Mad Raven Speak
Okay.
legislation. Could you tell me about that?
I think that's Patricia Randolph's column on I think in the Wisconsin State Journal or the Capital Times. I'm not sure which one. So about legislation currently that's happening?
Yeah.
So what's happening in Congress is that the Endangered Species Act's been really successful. So it saved about 99% of the species put on it. Due to some special interests like hunting lobby groups, oil lobby groups, kind of timber, what they're doing for the first time is trying to intervene through riders. So what these are is like, say, the Department of the Interior needs a budget. And they have to have a budget by a certain date. What they do is put things that don't have anything to do with the budget in there. So one of the things that I'm working hard on now is to fight the delisting of gray wolves through a congressional rider or a bill. They tend to be mostly Republican-sponsored bills, not to say that there aren't some Democrats on there, but it's a slippery slope. So once we start letting Congress decide what species should or shouldn't be on there, or states, we get away from the science of what wildlife is in jeopardy and what isn't. So currently they want to delist the gray wolf in Michigan, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Wyoming. And we would argue that they're still endangered.
Why do you argue that they're still endangered?
Well, what happened when they were delisted is that Wisconsin, Michigan, and Minnesota decided to start hunting wolves. And it was incredibly aggressive hunt, especially in Wisconsin. They had very high quotas, they didn't have any protection areas for wolves, and they allowed the use of dogs to hunt wolves. And basically what that looks like is kind of like Michael Vick dog fighting, just in the woods. So, and then Judge Howell, the Humane Society of the United States, along with some other groups, sued and won in court that state management plans were not putting the future of gray wolves or any sort of sustainable plan in action.
Okay. Could you tell me about the effect of sport hunting in general on the rest of the wildlife? In
Sure. So, hunting can be controversial, for sure. And I think there are some ethical hunters out there that are, maybe killing animals to feed their families. But what we're seeing now is, there's all these scopes and high-powered guns and really not really fair chase hunting. And, sport hunting or trophy hunting, that's taking like the best of the animals, like the biggest bear, the biggest deer. And that isn't how natural predators act. That's not how wolves act. That's not how coyotes act. They're going to take the easiest, maybe unhealthy or young or old animals. And human beings tend to take the best species. So we're really kind of throwing things out of balance, especially like with Wisconsin's deer herd. The sport hunters, they're taking these robust, healthy animals. We have way too many deer in Wisconsin, and that's to the detriment of deer. Chronic wasting disease is spreading, so I think that the overpopulation of deer that we have is due to human hunting, no doubt in my mind, because this great loss in only 1 week during gun season, and then removing all our natural predators. Unfortunately for the deer, it's not good for them. I would argue that there's no reason ever to hunt predators. You don't eat them. For example, right now there's a contentious issue about killing coyotes for management. But what happens is coyotes tend to run in pairs with their pups. So when you kill off like a resident coyote that's holding territory, making sure no one comes around, you have a lower coyote population. But they're just randomly, indiscriminately killing coyotes. So then what happens is that then there's a bunch of juvenile. Imagine if your high school, they just got rid of all the teachers. Like, how would school go? It'd be kind of chaotic. And that's really what's happening for a lot of our predators too. Bears are the same here. We're killing off the big bears and using hounds, and I don't really think that's fair or right.
I heard something about Lyme's disease spreading because of certain human activity going on in the state. Sure. So it's kind of a complicated issue. I mean, I think you first have to look at climate change, which is real. And, it's getting warmer, so ticks are staying out longer. But when we throw things out of balance, you have a high coyote population, you're going to have less of the other mesopredators, meaning the guys kind of in the middle, the bobcats, the foxes, and they eat a lot of rodents,
and that can help cut down on Lyme's disease from spreading. Certainly having a large amount of deer, since it is a deer tick, that's a lot of food to feed them. So I think, Lyme disease is, I've known people who have suffered from it, and it is not a nice disease to have, and it's something to be taken seriously.
How about hunting in general? Like, not just sports hunting, but any kind of hunting. Does that have any particular effect on wildlife?
I think that some hunting can be done in a sustainable way. I personally am not a hunter. I don't see I cannot wrap my mind around why it would be fun. Certainly I don't see people posing with the cow that they're going to have a hamburger from, right? But yet it seems to be kind of this, this weird conquest. So I think in some situations where we've thrown things out of balance, that maybe hunting can be used as a tool, but it seems to me that it's always used as the first choice and alternatives are never explored. Another, I think, big problem with essentially just hunting in general is that the DNR and any state game agency, I'll be real honest with you, is very heavily weighed to the needs of hunters and not to what they call a non-consumptive user, meaning someone who enjoys wildlife alive, like I do. I like to watch animals and hike, and I'm in the woods as much as they are. But one thing, is that they make money off of these licenses, and they don't really provide an opportunity in any sort of trackable way that people who are wildlife watchers or photographers contribute to those wildlife agencies. And they don't really want you in there because it is pretty hunter-driven. It's kind of an industry for the state. So I think one thing to do is for people that maybe are anti-hunting or like me believe there's maybe some very limited ethical hunting to get involved with their state agent, the DNR meetings, the Conservation Congress. You can get involved with a lot of things. Because let's say someone's trapping raccoons. That raccoon's yours too. And it's my raccoon. Wildlife belongs to everyone. It doesn't just belong to the hunting community. And I think it's time for us to become active and start caring about wildlife. And we see a lot of things for companion animals, dogs and cats. We see a lot of things for farm animal abuse. But I really think wildlife is neglected. I think a lot of people don't know what's going on in the woods. And so I think awareness is key.
I have one last question.
Yeah.
I was researching a little about wolves, and I came across something that didn't happen in Wisconsin. When they're reintroduced to Yellowstone Park, they did great things to the whole ecosystem. Could you explain?
Yeah, so what that effect is called trophic cascades. Basically meaning that, if wolves are kind of on top and they're eating elk, then elk eat plants. But it isn't just that simple, right? It's not just a wolf-elk grass. There's a lot of things that depend on wolves to keep, elk, deer in check, beavers in check. And what happens is that it creates, elk can really chew down, and deer, especially in Wisconsin. Actually, there's just a study done by the university that shows that deer have been the #1 damaging thing to our forests in Wisconsin, with some irreplaceable damage. And they've damaged things. And some species really need a very select plants or river systems, and what happens then is by the wolves affecting the deer or the elk or the moose, then in turn that affects the grasses, which then expands on a whole lot of other species like fish from erosion. Deer are like us in a way, in that if I had a box of donuts sitting right next to me and I was really hungry, or I had to walk a mile to go get a donut, I'm going to just sit here and keep feeding myself donuts, right? So they're like us. They're going to take the easiest opportunity. And natural predators, they don't just kill deer, they change their behavior. So if the box of donuts is here, but yet I know that there's a predator around trying to get me, I'm going to be on the move all the time. And so by them kind of dispersing these deer and elk and keeping them more wary, they're moving around and grazing. Not just sitting around.
Wow! Rustic American art. Oh, hey! I was just looking at this piece of art that I got from Envision Positive. She doesn't only do rustic American pictures and stuff either. She does all kinds of cool stuff. Envision Positive is an amazing local artist. She makes great holiday gifts and home decor. She donates half of her proceeds to an animal rights organization each month. Please like her on Facebook.
Do you think there should be any concern of us making this documentary?
Of course. If you don't realize right now that you're putting your neck on the chopping block, you know, you better take that camera and throw it away.
It's an environmental disaster that's being ignored by the very people who should be championing.
Let's look at the fundamental problem here.
No one wants to talk about it.
Because they're membership organizations, you know, a lot of them. They're looking to maximize the number of people making contributions.
The leading cause of environmental degradation is...
We need to address that as well.
It's not up to the Department of Water Resources.
Hard to actually target like one thing.
I don't necessarily know what it is.
There's suppression and mismanagement of information everywhere it abounds.
It starts at the local level, but then it goes all the way to Congress.
When you consider the devastation it's having on our planet as well as the oceans.
And we're in the middle of the largest mass extinction of species in 65 million years.
They can dictate the federal policies because they have so much political power.
And one of the largest industries on the planet with the biggest environmental impact, trying to keep us in the dark about how it's operating.
That's the one thing no one talks about. Everybody goes around that.
Unfortunately, we are no longer able to fund your film project. We had a meeting, and due to the growing controversial subject matter, we have some concerns and have to pull out.
You're going up against people that have massive legal resources, and you have nothing.
A lot of people just keep their mouths shut because they don't want to be the next one with the bullet to their head.
I don't know that I would want to comment on that.
So before we go, Miles Spalding, you're back. Yep. I was feeling a little under the weather. That's why Tato is filling in for me. So I have some scary facts about the Earth to tell you. Really? Yep. Assistant! 5% of water consumed in the United States is by private homes. 55% of water consumed in the U.S. is for animal agriculture. Livestock covers 45% of the Earth's total land. 3/4 of the world's fisheries are exploited or depleted. We could see fishless oceans by the year 2048. Animal agriculture is responsible for up to 91% of Amazon destruction. That's the Amazon rainforest, not Amazon.com. 82% of starving children live in countries where food is fed to animals and the animals are eaten by Western countries. Livestock and its byproducts account for 51% of all worldwide greenhouse gas emissions. Growing feed crops for livestock consumes 56% of water in the U.S. Everybody thinks that all you have to do is recycle and drive sustainably and carpool. Yeah, all that. And you should do that stuff too. That's great for the environment. But you need to pull the problem up by its roots. Yeah. Yep. So you know what you have to do? What? Well, you need to go vegan. Vegan? Because not being vegan is the leading cause for all these bad things. Even if you just go vegetarian, that's bad for the environment too. Because you're still contributing a huge amount to climate change. Veganism is the ultimate thing for the earth. Wow, I never knew that. Yep. And don't be scared by that word too. A lot of people seem scared by it. Yeah, I don't know why, it's just a word. Yeah, and there's lots of tasty vegan food, which brings us to our next part, which is the bake sale. Yeah. Well, we'll show you the bake sale and a trailer for a movie. So, goodbye! So, could you tell me a little about baking? I have a few questions. What are some good egg substitutes?
Oh, there's probably a dozen of them. You can use like applesauce, bananas. There's something called, I think it's some kind of an egg replacer. Things like that. I've made, like, if you make banana cookies, you don't have to put anything in because the banana works as an egg replacer.
A lot of recipes require butter. What are some vegan butters that you know?
You can buy vegan butters. I think it's called, I can't remember the name of it, but it comes in a gold box. And even Woodman sells it.
Earth Balance?
Earth Balance, yeah. Even Woodman sells it. And that's what I mostly use for the buttercream frostings and put it into the cakes and cupcakes I make.
Thank you.
Sure.
Intelligent people who are making good livings, who are politically aware, and they just have absolutely no idea.
They're windowless, so you can't see into them. They contain thousands upon thousands of animals.
So I decided to go take a look.
You cannot come onto our property.
No, okay. Yeah, turn it off. I had to be a little more sneaky.
So why do they put all of these bushes here?
Just to hide what they're doing.
I have seen with my own eyes feces and urine running down the side of this road here.
Do people know about this?
Not really.
But it goes deeper.
The fact that animals are not human, that they belong to a different species, isn't a reason for giving less consideration to their interests.
That can't be right. Other species can't be as important as humans.
Not when we first think about it, but the more we think about it, the case becomes stronger and stronger and stronger.
What would it mean if there really were something to this?
It is the biggest problem.
In the world.
In the world, absolutely.
Animals are under attack. They're under attack. It's a war.
Your, quote, common sense has failed you.
I'm an undercover investigator.
Would I put tumors into people to test?
The Nazis are going to round up all the Jews and take us all away.
Yes, we're still around.
I think we're lost.
I don't want to get arrested. If they tell us they're going to call the cops, we'll say, okay, we'll leave, right?
Yeah.
Okay.